Good morning children. Today we are going to see first lesson in 8th standard civics, the Indian Constitution. Dear children, as an Indian citizen, we should know about the Constitution, isn't it? Yes. So in this chapter, we will learn about why does a country need a constitution, the importance of the constitution and the key features of the constitution. Okay, fine. In this chapter, we are going to begin with football. Again, many of you have probably heard of or even played. Actually, as the name suggests, this is a game that involves the player's feet, isn't it? Yes. According to the rules of football, if the ball touches the arm of any player except the goalkeeper, then this is considered a foul. You know very well. Yes? So, similarly, other games such as hockey or cricket also have rules according to which they are played. Each of these rules helps define the game and helps us distinguish one game from another. As these are fundamental to the game, we can also call these fundamental rules as the constitutive rules of the game. Like these games, a society also has constitutive rules. And these constitutive rules helps us to differentiate the society from other kinds of societies. Actually, in large societies in which different communities of people live together, isn't it? Yes. Actually, you know very well, India is called land of unity in diversity, isn't it? Because India consists of various religion people and all of them live together happily in the land of India, isn't it? So, in large societies in which different communities of people live together, these constitutive rules are formulated through consensus. What is meant by consensus? It means common agreement. So consensus means common agreement. In modern countries, this consensus is usually available in written form. It is not just like oral, it is in written form. So, a written document in which we find such rules is called a constitution. In simple way we can say, a constitution is a written document containing certain rules of governing a sovereign state. Okay, fine. Now, let's discuss about why does a country need a constitution. See, a country is governed on the basis of some rules and principles. These constitutive principles, these constitutive rules determine the structure of the government and its powers and functions and the rights of the people. So, now we will see about why does a country need a constitution. Actually, a constitution lays out certain ideals that form the basis of the kind of country that we as citizens aspire to live in. Secondly, a constitution tells about the fundamental nature of our society. Then, a constitution helps serve as a set of rules and principles that all persons in a country can agree upon as the basis of the way in which they want the country to be governed. And this includes the type of government and also an agreement on certain ideals that they all believe the country should uphold. Okay. Now we are going to see about Nepal's constitution. Before going to see that, I'll tell you about the Indian National Congress made the demand for a constitution assembly. Okay. in 1934, the Indian National Congress made the demand for a constituent assembly. Between December 1946 and November 1949, the Constituent Assembly drafted a constitution for independent India. Actually, you know, the Indian constitution is the longest written constitution in the whole world. Okay, which constitution is the longest written constitution in the whole world? Our Indian constitution. So, the Indian constitution is the longest written constitution in the whole world. Okay, and it has more than 900 pages long and originally consisting of 395 articles and 8 schedules. But now there are approximately around 445 articles and 12 schedules. So why I told you know this, between December 1946 and November 1949, the Constitution Assembly drafted a constitution for independent India. So they took nearly 3 years. That's why our Indian constitution is the longest written constitution in the whole world. Okay. Then the Constitution Assembly completed its work on 26th November 1949. You note this, they completed, when did they complete the drafting work? 26th November 1949. But 26th January 1950 only the Constitution came into force. Okay, so we saw about the Constitution Assembly, what did they demand and how did they draft our Indian Constitution. Okay, fine. Now I'll show the picture. Here the picture of India's first Constituent Assembly. Okay. Who is he? He is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Baba Sahib Dr. Ambedkar is known as the father of the Indian Constitution because he was the chairman of drafting committee of Constituent Assembly. So who was the chairman of drafting committee of Constituent Assembly? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and he is also known as the father of the Indian Constitution. Okay, fine. Children, you should learn about some of the important leaders of the Constituent Assembly. Now let's see. Prominent member of the Constituent Assembly, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Who was the prominent member of the Constituent Assembly? Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He is also known as the Iron Man of the India, isn't it? Yes. Next, father of the Indian Constitution, already we have learnt it. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and also he was the chairman of the drafting committee of Constituent Assembly, isn't it? Yes. Then president of the Constituent Assembly. Who was the president of the Constituent Assembly? Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Then after India got independence, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel became the Deputy Prime Minister of India. Okay, fine. Now let's try and understand what we mean by this through two contrasting situations in the recent history of Nepal, a country that borders on the north. Actually, until quite recently, Nepal was a monarchy. What is a monarchy? A form of government with a monarch at the head. Who is a monarch? King or queen or royal family. Okay, so Nepal was a monarchy. The previous constitution of Nepal, which had been adopted in 1990, reflected the fact that the final authority rested with the king. So, a people's movement in Nepal fought for several decades to establish democracy, and in 2006, they finally succeeded in putting an end to the powers of the king. Now, the people have to write a new constitution to establish Nepal as a democracy. The reason that they do not want to continue with the previous constitution is because it does not reflect the ideals of the country that they want Nepal to be, and they have fought for. Okay, so we saw about Nepal's people's movement in the year 1990 and what happened in the year 2006. How did they how did they get their democracy. Okay, now I'll show the picture of Nepal's last king. See here, Gyanendra Bir Bikram Shahdev. King Gyanendra reigned as the last king of Nepal from 2001 to 2008 and is also known as the world's last Hindu king. Okay. In 2007, Nepal adopted an interim constitution. So, on May 28, 2008, the newly elected Constituent Assembly declared Nepal a federal democratic republic and abolishing the 240-year-old monarchy. So, Nepal today has a president as head of state and a prime minister heading the government. Okay. Now, let's see the differences between the Constitution of Nepal in 1990 and the interim Constitution of 2007. See, in 1990, Nepal was a monarchy, but in 2007, Nepal adopted an interim constitution. Then, the previous constitution of Nepal, which had been adopted in 1990, reflected the fact that the final authority rested with the king. Here, according to that 1990, the Constitution of 1990, who was the final authority? The king was the final authority. Then, here in 2007, according to the interim constitution, the executive powers of Nepal are in the hands of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. Okay. Now, let's discuss about the second important purpose of a constitution. The second important purpose of a constitution is to define the nature of a country's political system. For example, Nepal's earlier constitution stated that the country was to be ruled by the king and his council of ministers. Actually, in countries that have adopted a democratic form of government or polity, the constitution plays a crucial role in laying out certain important guidelines. Okay. Now we will see about the other purposes of constitution. See, constitution tells the citizens what type of government they have, and also it defines the powers of the government so that the government cannot misuse its authority. We know very well, in a democracy we choose our leaders so that they can exercise power responsibly on our behalf. You know, however, there is always the possibility that these leaders might misuse their authority. So, the constitution usually provides safeguards against this. See, you think about, if we misuse our power, what will happen? If the political leaders misuse their powers, what will happen? Obviously, there will be injustice, isn't it? So, this misuse of authority can result in gross injustice. Generally, in democratic societies, the constitution often lays down rules that guard against this misuse of authority by our political leaders. Okay, so what would happen if there were no restrictions on the power of elected representatives? You imagine what will happen? If there were no restrictions on the power of elected representatives, the leaders might misuse the powers given to them. Then, misuse of authority can result in gross injustice. Hence, in democratic countries, the constitution often lays down rules that guard against the misuse of authority by our political leaders. Okay, fine. Do you recall the chapter on the Dalit writer Om Prakash Valmiki's experience in school from your class 7th book? What happened? In that chapter we talked about the discrimination Om Prakash faced because he was a Dalit, isn't it? Yes. You read about how the Indian Constitution guarantees the right to equality to all persons and says that no citizen can be discriminated against on grounds of religion, race, caste, gender and place of birth. So, the right to equality is one of the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution, isn't it? Yes. See, another important function that a constitution plays in a democracy is to ensure that a dominant group does not use its power against any person, group and organization, etc. And generally, constitution prevents tyranny or domination by the majority of a minority. You know, many constitutions have provisions that seek to prevent majority groups from violating the rights of minorities. Okay, so we need a constitution because a majority do not dominate the minority, so that the proper law should be maintained in the society. Okay. The third significant reason why we need a constitution is to save us from ourselves. You know, the constitution helps to protect us against certain decisions that we might take and which may have an adverse effect on the larger principles that the country believes in. So, the constitution defines the rights of the citizens too, so that they cannot break laws, exploit other citizens or be exploited by others. I tell you an example. It is possible that many people may think that dictatorship is better, but in the long run it is not helpful. In the long run, dictatorial rule goes against all their interests. So, a good constitution does not allow these whims to change its basic structure, and a good constitution does not allow for the easy overthrow of provisions that guarantee rights of citizens and protect their freedom. Okay, fine. I hope you all understand this content. Okay, so the lesson will be continued in the next class. Thank you.